We also know there are known unknowns. That is to say, we know there's some things we do not know.
We'll have to work toward the dark side, if you will. We're going to spend time in the shadows and in the intelligence world. A lot of what needs to be done here will have to be done quietly, without any discussion, using sources and methods that are available to our intelligence.
Humanity's savage nature will inevitably lead to global annihilation. So in order to save this planet, I had to trick it with the greatest practical joke in human history.
Killing millions.
To save billions. A necessary crime.
No, we can't let you do that.
Horror, a harmless pop phenomenon, or a deadly mad prophet of the printed page?
I couldn't help at one point in my discussions privately with General Secretary Gorbachev.
It is a big idea.
He sees you.
When you stop to think that we're all God's children, wherever we may live in the world.
He sees you.
Perhaps it's fate that today is the...
Where diverse nations are drawn together in common cause.
Mankind, that word should have new meaning for all of us today.
We lead the world in facing down a threat to decency and humanity.
I couldn't help but say to him, just think how easy his task and mine might be in these meetings that we held.
On September the 11th, enemies of freedom committed an act of war against our country.
A harmless pop phenomenon, or a deadly mad prophet of the printed page?
He sees you.
Humanity's savage nature will inevitably lead to global annihilation.
In less than an hour, aircraft from here will join others from around the world.
So in order to save this planet, I had to trick it with the greatest practical joke in human history.
Killing millions.
To save billions. A necessary crime.
No, we can't.
What is at stake is more than one small country.
We can find a way to coexist.
Its goal is remaking the world and imposing its radical beliefs on people everywhere.
I know there's much we can learn from each other if we can negotiate a truce.
All of this was brought upon us in a single day.
Can there be a peace between us?
And night fell on a different world.
What is it you want us to do?
If suddenly there was a threat to this world.
The evidence we have gathered all points to a collection of loosely...
On the magnitude of what was witnessed here today, I know Senator Dodd earlier today compared this to the equivalent of the bombing of Pearl Harbor.
Right. Affiliated terrorist organizations, known organizations, known as Al-Qaeda, affiliated terrorist organizations.
On the magnitude of what was witnessed here today, I know Senator Dodd earlier today compared this to the equivalent of the bombing of Pearl Harbor. Thoughts on the magnitude of what was was witnessed here today, I know Senator Dodd earlier today compared this to the equivalent of the bombing of Pearl Harbor.
Right. Not today. And I think we will not get on an airplane the same way again. We will not feel the same way about our security again. I looked at some numbers, Paula. The largest number...
All
hands, man your boat! Big boat, get up!
On the magnitude of what was witnessed here today, I know Senator Dodd earlier today compared this to the equivalent of the bombing of Pearl Harbor.
Right, and the number of American dead ever in one day in this country was Antietam, the Civil War battle in Maryland in 1862, 22,000 dead. I hope to God we don't approach that number when all is said and done, but we're going to be possibly in that ballpark. And I think tomorrow, in some ways, may even be a worse day than today because the sheer...
Jesus Christ. We lead the world in facing down a threat to decency and humanity.
This to the equivalent of the bombing of Pearl Harbor.
Right.
Another dumb drill.
Affiliated terrorist organizations known
from some other species
as Al-Qaeda.
Compare this to the equivalent of the bombing of Pearl Harbor.
Right.
Compare this to the equivalent of the bombing of Pearl Harbor.
Right.
From another planet.
This group and its leader, a person named Osama bin Laden, are linked to many other organizations in different countries.
Outside in the universe.
There are thousands of these terrorists in more than 60 countries.
If we were facing an alien threat,
they are recruited from their own nations and neighborhoods.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish.
We can't be consumed by our petty differences anymore.
A harmless pop phenomenon or a deadly mad prophet of the printed page?
We'd forget all the little local differences that we have between our countries.
Where diverse nations are drawn together in common cause.
And you will once again be fighting for our freedom.
To achieve the universal aspirations of mankind.
Perhaps we need some outside universal threat.
We're fighting for our right to live, to exist.
In Afghanistan, we see Al-Qaeda's vision for the world.
We lead the world in facing down a threat to decency and humanity.
Not only repressing its own people, it is threatening people everywhere by sponsoring and sheltering and supplying terrorists.
If we were facing an alien threat,
where they are trained in the tactics of terror.
Not from tyranny, oppression, or persecution, but from annihilation.
And we would find out once and for all that we really are all human beings here on this earth together.
The terrorist directive commands them to kill Christians and Jews, to kill all Americans, and make no distinctions among military and civilians, including women and children.
In our obsession with antagonisms of the moment, we often forget how much unites all the members of humanity.
We will be united in our common interest.
To make us recognize this common bound.
Where diverse nations are drawn together in common cause.
How quickly our differences worldwide would vanish.
We can't be consumed by our petty differences anymore.
To achieve the universal aspirations of mankind.
To make us recognize this common bound.
Peace and security.
We're fighting for our right to live, to exist.
What is at stake is more than one small country.
But as the day when the world declared in one voice, we will not go quietly into the night, we will not vanish without a fight, we're going to live on. We're going to survive.
It is a big idea.
Today, we celebrate our Independence Day.
A new world order.
Well, I don't suppose we can wait for some alien race to come down and threaten us.
Perhaps it's fate that today is...
September the 11th, enemies of freedom committed an act of war against our country. By aiding and abetting murder, the Taliban regime is committing murder.
And you will once again be fighting for our freedom.
Our enemy is a radical network of terrorists and every government that supports them.
What is at stake is more than one small country.
Our war on terror begins with Al-Qaeda, but it does not end there.
Kill one man, terrorize 1,000.
But I think that...
Kill one man, terrorize 1,000.
Aircraft from here will join others from around the world.
Between us.
Kill one man, terrorize 1,000.
It will not end until every terrorist group of global reach has been found, stopped, and defeated.
We can bring about.
To achieve the universal aspirations of mankind, peace and security, freedom, and the rule of law.
That realization.
Recognize this common bound.
Just think how easy his task and mine might be in these meetings that we held if suddenly there was
a new world order.
We need some universal threat.
Kill one man, terrorize 1,000.
To achieve a new world order.
After the chaos and carnage of September the 11th, it is not enough to serve our enemies with legal papers.
We need some universal threat.
Within weeks, 5 would be dead and thousands of others exposed to one of the deadliest bacteria known to man.
There are very few people who have the bench skills to make a product this good.
Federal investigators discovered clues to the perpetrator's identity encoded in the bacterium itself.
There are 89 different types of anthrax, but each one has its own kind of trail. This one led directly back to our own defense establishment.
Was the U.S. government hiding a terrorist inside America's biodefense community? Some say yes, and that the official government investigation was a sham.
The only people who know anything about the subject are also the suspects.
They're protecting this individual.
What we're dealing with here is an inside job with a real insider who has secrets that nobody wants to get out. It's going to be too humiliating, too embarrassing.
All the spores were sent for immediate forensic testing. By the 10th of October, the analysis of the spores was complete. The results were horrifying. The bacterium that killed Robert Stevens and eventually infected 7 of his colleagues was identified as the Ames strain, a strain long favored by and under the near total control of the U.S. biodefense program.
Kill one man, terrorize 1,000.
The danger to our country is grave. The danger to our country is growing.